Hello and welcome to the Success Showcase. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin with the Modern Observer Group. And with me, as always, is Chip Januszewski from the Happiness and Success GPS. Chip, how you doing this week?
Doing great. How about you, Eric?
Doing fantastic.
Got a lovely February day out there today. The sun's out. We're not expecting any nasty weather for a week or so, which is wonderful. And speaking about bright spots, our guest today is my friend Jah Johns, who I met through the West Hartford Chamber of Commerce. His daytime job is to manage the Relax the Back store in West Hartford. But when we first sat down and started talking about what we do and so on and so forth, we have so much synergy. Obviously, me with doing what I'm doing and Jah doing what he's doing, and basically everything that he's working towards with Relax the Back, but also a lot of other things that he's doing outside philanthropically is just absolutely wonderful. He's a wonderful daddy and so on and so forth. So I would like to introduce to you, Jah Johns. Just tell us about yourself and your journey.
Good morning, everyone out there. Thank you, Chip, and thank you, Eric, for having me on the call here or on this podcast. So I appreciate the time. Where should I start, do you think, Chip?
I would just, just talk about your life and how you gotten from where you were to where you are right now.
Introduce yourself to our listeners.
Okay. So I like to say my name is Jah, J-A-H, as in happy. I definitely stole that from Chip Janikowski. He's one of my heroes, just a positive, shining light in a lot of people's lives. And, my mom was a single mom when she had my twin brother and I were fraternal twins in Bronx, New York. She's from a country called Barbuda. It's an island in the West Indies, right near Puerto Rico. It's one country with three other islands, but the other island that most people are familiar with is Antigua. That's where my dad is from, my biological father. So as a single mom, she did a tremendous job. She met my stepdad when we were in the third or fourth grade. They eventually got married, had kids. So I have three other siblings from my mom and my stepdad. So I knew in high school that my most important job was to be a father, because my siblings for my mom's kids are 11 years younger, 13 years younger, and 14 years younger. And of the five kids, the youngest was a girl. So I knew that when it came to the girls in my life, the women in my life, I was putty. I definitely don't wear the pants in those relationships. So, fast forward to college, I always ask myself, ask the universe, I know fathering is really important, and that's my number one job, my number one focus. What's the one gift I can give them if I give them one gift? And what I kept hearing was faith. So not necessarily my faith, what I believe in, but having their own faith. So the way I look at it is if their mother or I ever drop the ball, their faith can take it much further than I could imagine. So that leads to, why Chip wanted me to be featured on the call. I decided to start a nonprofit focused on fathering. And the ultimate goal is to make fathering at the same level as mothering, especially in the inner city area. So if we backtrack back to New York City, when I was there in the 90s as a child, fatherlessness was normal. So almost all my friends, there was a very minority, maybe about 9% of them, their dad was, in their lives most of the time. And the other sad part of it, about 6% of them, their mothers were addicted to crack cocaine. So how much opportunity, do they have? So at UConn, I was a sociology major. So I consider myself a sociologist. That's what I have my degree in. And so I decided to start a nonprofit based off of that. So the name of the nonprofit more than likely will be ABBA. I've realized that I made a mistake. I was supposed to equal the numeric number 8, but actually meets the numerical number 6. So I have to meditate and figure that out. But the purpose of it truly is to eradicate the lack of fathering in our reality. The first programs that we're designing is based around the prison system to heal one person at a time, to really end that cycle. So from what I found, especially with people that I know personally that went to jail. If they get incarcerated, like for long-term incarceration, typically their father was incarcerated at some point. Usually they have at least one uncle that was incarcerated at one point. And if you dig deeper, they have a grandfather who was incarcerated at one point. So it's not necessarily an individual issue, but to me is more of a systemic issue. But if we can heal it one person at a time, there are some proven programs that have healed PTSD, specifically with military folk out there in the Army, Marines, so on and so forth, without medication. So I'm actually working with psychologists and psychotherapists within the prison system to design programs specifically that works with PTSD people. I think there's a lot of similarities between what they suffer and what these young people are suffering.
So, Jah, let's talk about that for a little bit. So I want to make sure I have this clear. Are you saying that the generational incarceration problem
Yep.
is related to PTSD, or is it causing PTSD?
I don't know if you can categorize it as PTSD. I just think a lot of the symptoms are very similar in reference to the healing process. So I'm more focused on the result, and not necessarily, identifying exactly what it is. I'm more focused on, is this a program that can really help this systemic issue?
Right. So
And I look at it similar to a pandemic. It's been going on so long.
tell us a little bit more about these programs. What are you doing, to get to that goal?
So I actually hired a professional partner to help organize that. And then it's literally just sitting down. So a lot of these prison therapists, they actually have programs and dissertations. So it's just having a conversation. There are programs out there already that the nonprofit can just help support, right? With the transition from them going from being in prison into civilian life. So essentially is just getting the nonprofit started. We know where we want to go and what our ultimate goal is. And then I feel like we're winning if we can save one person. So we really want to focus on one person at a time, especially in the beginning, and being very impactful, because we do need to find several champions to help drive the initiative and build tremendous momentum.
That's fantastic. So where do you think your nonprofit is going to have the most impact? Are you trying to focus on folks as they come out of prison, while they're in prison, or even before they ever get to that point?
So it'll be within prison is where we're starting. And then we'll be building, because so there's a few organizations that help try to fix the gaps. There's one that's called GREC. So it's just really understanding what opportunities are there to help fill in those gaps. So, the first step is let's get a program created that we know that works, and let's start helping people. And then from there, depending on how many resources we have available, help with the transition. Definitely want to help with the transition to civilian life, because the whole point for my vision and Abba's vision is to really help them to make Chip Janikowski a normal thing, right? I would love to see more Chips out there, especially if they came from humble beginnings, right? And I hope that they're going to want to give positivity to the world. You can't control their behavior afterwards, but you can try to encourage them moving in the right direction. But the ultimate goal is to make them great civilians and make them great parents, and that's the ultimate goal. And hopefully they want to give back. They don't necessarily have to give back to Abba, but whatever drives them, there's a lot of speakers out there, they say, reach back, and reach back and help. So hopefully as they become, successful people, that they move, they bring up other successful people to do the same thing. And, that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, I'm sure one of the biggest starting points is to get them to realize that that person in the mirror is worthwhile and it's got a whole lot going for them. Because obviously, I'm sure that they're there with a whole lot of baggage about a whole lot of things, and really getting to the root of that first, so that they really understand that we are all one, all related, all good, and all forgiven is really, really important to as far as a starting point. And once you have that going, and I would imagine if you're doing this in prisons, you're doing this with a group. And imagine just turning a whole bunch of people in the room around that says, oh yeah, and they're all facing the same thing. And all of a sudden you got a positive vibe going. I'm sure that that's something that you started to sense doing that, and one of the reasons that you're doing it. And but as you and I and we, Eric, all know, it all starts with that person in the mirror. And until you can love that person in the mirror and realize that you're worthwhile and got a whole lot of stuff going positive for yourself, and work on that and throw out everything else that everybody else thinks, that's the most important way to get going.
I agree. The word that comes to mind is enough. And if you can feel complete and enough, it really, allows you have a different perspective when someone says something negative. Sometimes the only positive thing you hear about yourself is what you say to yourself. And, the people that I work with and the people I like to touch, I like them to have that type of mindset where you're patting yourself on your back, you're dusting your shoulders off, you're celebrating the small wins that you're having. And I hope that Abba can play a big role in these people's lives.
Yeah.
I love your focus on fathers. That speaks to me particularly. My father passed away when I was 11. So, for the most part, I grew up without a father as well. And I love, Abba, for our listeners that don't know, means father in Hebrew. But I have to ask, why the focus on getting the numbers to equal 8?
So I'm really blessed. So I actually have an adopted dad that I met when I was in my 20s. And when my kids think of grandfather, they're like my father, they actually think of him. His name's Alfie Lavoie. So Alfie is a mathematician, engineer, and owns another very successful business. So he told me to try my best to, when you create these new companies, to try to have the numerical number 8 in the number. So like A is 1, B is 2. So ABBA, ABBA equals 6. It was supposed to equal 8, but my math was wrong, and I'm actually pretty good at math, so very embarrassed. But there'll be a way to get around it. Maybe we'll add an H, because it could be 8, 16, 24, 30, so on and so forth. So we can figure that out. But I really love the name. So it doesn't just mean father. Like father is accurate in Hebrew. It actually means papa. And when you refer to someone as papa, or like when I talk to Chip, I don't just say Mr. Janikowski, or I just don't say him, right? Chip means, when I say Chip, that means we have an authentic relationship, like we have consistent communication. So when I say Abba, it means Papa, and it's an actual relationship. So it's so much deeper than just that. It's someone that you actually have a connection with and that you want to make proud. And that's really important to me in reference to the meaning of the company and where it's going to go in the future.
I love that differentiation, because you can father a child and not really be their father. There's so many people who are out there, the kids have a biological father, but they don't have a relationship with them. And that relationship is so important.
I agree. And in America, it seems like it's not a big enough emphasis. It's starting to get trendy right now, but I really want fathering to really be as good as mothering. And that's the ultimate goal of the nonprofit. And it really needs to synergize well with other nonprofits and for-profits, right? And we'll see if it moves into a political realm. I really don't want it to. Sometimes you don't have a choice. Sometimes when you have these companies or businesses, both you, Eric, and Chip, you've ran big companies, and usually once it starts to build momentum, it starts to go in directions you can't imagine.
That's true. You never know where something's going to end up.
So with our COVID situation for the last couple of years, obviously that has probably forced a lot of fathers to be working more from home with the kids. So I think probably one of the silver linings in the COVID cloud is that dads and kids are probably spending a whole lot more time together. Do you find that to be the truth, being a father yourself of a beautiful young gal who does all your commercials on West Hartford AM Connections every week?
So I do find it to be true. I get to spend so when COVID hit in 2020, my wife is a power woman. She has 4 advanced degrees. I call her Madam Vice President. She's more in the educational realm. We had to make a decision at some point. Like, we were both trying to work. And I have a 8.5-year-old and an almost 4-year-old. So my daughter will be 20 will be 4 on the 20th. And, at the ages they were at, someone had to be the teacher at home and make sure that everyone was happy. Like, my wife needed support, I needed support. So after about 2 months into it, I actually shut down everything, and didn't take any income just to be a father. I said, well, if my number one goal is to be a dad, and my son is struggling with he can't focus, he's not happy working from home. He needed more attention and my wife needed more attention. My daughter was actually doing pretty decent. She was pretty nimble. And so I had to make a decision. I said, you know what? I'm not going to have any income. Even when I filed for unemployment, because of the way I make my income, according to the state of Connecticut and the state of Massachusetts, I didn't qualify. So luckily, we made some really good decisions, had enough in savings, and we were able to, cover everything. But the kids were top priority, because of my humble beginnings. It's not hard for me to make those type of decisions, because I know at the end of the day, as long as you're together and you love each other, you will find a way. And that's the faith piece that's really important to me. And I want that to be part of ABBA. But fortunately, I literally, I think I took from end of April until when they went back to school in August, September, I barely worked. Like, any work I did was pro bono. I was just volunteer. I didn't do anything that I would get paid for, because I didn't want to be held accountable for a deadline or anything like that, because my kids were my top priority. And I'm sure in a lot of families, the other blessing was I really learned to appreciate my babysitter so much more, and my teachers, my kids' teachers so much more, and how difficult it is to get children and people to focus on simple tasks. There was a lot of things I took for granted, and I kind of made assumptions. There was a lot of gifts I learned through that COVID process. And I'm sure there was a lot of husbands that appreciate all that their wives do for them. And a lot, as a sociologist, a lot of the, there's a lot of assumed roles that women have to play in households in reference to cleaning, cooking, childcare. They usually have to have 2 extremely big jobs. They have their full-time job, and then they have their time with the kids at home job. And in some families, the father just comes home and put their feet up, and they just expect the food to be out warm on time. And it's really sad. There needs to be a balance, and I hope ABBA can play a big role in moving that forward. And I hope there's a lot of other companies doing that to move it forward. COVID did help, in my opinion, just from surveying friends and asking questions. Even with retired folk, right? You see it even with retired folk that the husbands are appreciating more what the wives and mothers have done. So one big focus for me and for my companies as a value word is gratitude. And let's hope that that gratitude moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's a mindset in men in general that really it has been changing over time, but we do need to sort of speed that up, because it shouldn't be the mother taking over all of those roles in the household. Guys need to step up, participate in raising their kids, participate in keeping the household going. It really needs to be more of a partnership.
Yeah, that's something that, my son is a young father too. I mean, he's got a 2-year-old daughter, and they're expecting another one in April. And, with me being born in the 50s and looking at I love my grandfather, but he was, a little bit bigoted and stuff like that. And then my dad, I'm the oldest of 7 kids, and he'd be, basically work in the morning, golfing in the afternoon, come home for dinner and whatever. I mean, we were all brought up that way, and things started changing. a bit after I got married in 78, and then moving ahead, it's been a lot more of a partnership going on. And one of the beauties, one of my joys is just watching my son and daughter-in-law just do everything together with my granddaughter. Fortunately, my daughter-in-law has been able to work out of home because she's the CPA for Colgate in New York City, and hasn't even been there since before she was born. And my son is a school teacher at Greenwich Country Day. But they basically do a lot of different things together when they're both home. One of them gets to sleep late, the other one gets up, and so on. It's just a beautiful partnership. And I know there's a lot of things going on like that because your generation, Jah, and everybody appreciates everybody a whole lot more as people, who they are, as far as I'm concerned, even though you still have emphasis on a whole lot of really bad stuff going on. It's emphasizing differences. There's a whole lot more togetherness going on. And that's something definitely that needs to be emphasized and built upon. It would be great to have that front page news instead of the other stuff, because it is going on.
And that's a great point. There's a lady called, a great sociologist passed away, named Phyllis Tickle, and she feels like we're moving into the great emergence. And what you're talking about, emerging of task and collaboration, is huge, especially within a household. And I'm really excited to see my kids be parents, just like you're watching your kids be parents, Chip, because I'm sure they're going to do things much better than I've done it. And hopefully that's the goal, right? They always take the baton much further than we could imagine. And let's hope that that's a normal mindset for most parents in the household.
Yeah, and then just watching how the children interact with each other in school and so on and so forth too. The hangups that I had growing up and that the generation later has, they're gone. I have so much faith in the youth in this country, people who are in school now, people who are your age, young parents, and so on and so forth. That there's a whole lot of that going on, and for you to be sharing it with other people who don't have that going on right now and help bringing it back into their lives, I mean, God bless. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So, Jah, what are your next steps putting the nonprofit together?
So the goal is because I want to open it organically. I don't want to rush it. So the goal is to have it open sometime this year, to have the 501c3 established this year. My people volunteered to let me use their spaces and resources to establish the 501c3. They went through it right before COVID, and they have a beautiful office space in Hartford. So the owner's name is Abdul, and then I did hire, because on top, like, I manage Relax the Back. I'm opening a mattress store. And then for Relax the Back, we have several locations that we're opening more than likely. So we have to open an Avon Simsbury location that we own. And then we're moving the store too. So,
but tell our listeners a little bit about what Relax the Back is.
So Relax the Back it started in 1984. It's a retail store that focuses on wellness. Historically, it started with particularly spinal back pain. So all the staff members are medically trained, and the original founder is an osteopath who had back pain and knew about a position called zero gravity. So not the zero gravity you think of in adjustable bases in your mattresses at home out there. It's true weightlessness in the spine when they say zero gravity. So that position was invented by scientists in NASA. So astronauts can leave the atmosphere safely and re-enter the atmosphere safely without shattering their spine. So you don't essentially have a broken genius. So this osteopath knew about that position, contacted Human Touch, one of the best manufacturers in reference to medical grade durable equipment for recliners, and created the first zero gravity recliner. The recliner was so good that they decided to open up a store. And then after they opened the store, they decided to franchise it. So our store here in West Hartford was opened in 1996. So we've been here a very long time, and we've been helping people. So like the main products we sell are best in class recliners. We sell best in class massage chairs, which are tremendous. And then, by the way, if anyone's in the area, you don't have to buy anything. You can stop in and get a free 10-minute massage right in our massage chairs. If I'm not physically there, I'm Jah, J-H as in happy. I call her Queen Betty. So if you say Queen Betty, then she knows I sent you in. And there's a good chance you're not looking to actually purchase, you're just looking for the experience. And the experience alone is tremendous. So I don't think, have you made it then, Chip? I don't
No,
think you so
Friday, getting scared with the weather and so on and so forth. You and I have to reschedule.
yeah. So Chip, you got to make it in. Eric, you have to make it in. Just the experience alone. So I had the I actually won one recently, a $10,000 massage chair. So if you sell a certain amount in a short period of time, the manufacturer sends you a free one. So I was able to achieve that. They sent one to the house. My wife uses it at least twice a day. And we have family members on her side of the family. They come in like at least 4 times a week. Someone just pops in randomly. I was at the house Tuesday night, and one of her cousins popped in. He's like in his 20s, just to get a free massage, which is crazy because he had the opportunity to do it in the store, but I guess it's different at the house. So, but the product sells itself. So we also sell home office ergonomics. So like best in class office chairs. We set up spinal surgeons with their actual ergonomic setup with the monitors and everything. So we're trained in reference to that. Our lift chairs are tremendous. So if you have any elderly parents, or if you have any issues where you need help lift assist in and out the chair, we have best in class products for that. And then our mattresses are tremendous, but we actually get referrals on pillows. So no one could really compete with us in reference to fitting for pillows and getting pillows that last a very long time. So I get a referral every month from this one osteopath, and it's not the only osteopath, but this particular one. She's had our pillow for over 15 years, and she came in recently just to make sure that the experience is what she remembered. And there was no need for her to buy a new pillow because her pillow is still performing perfectly, and it's a 15-year-old pillow. So to be able to have a product that you buy once that lasts that long and that durable, with 2 medical professionals working together to fit this medical professional that sleeps on it, is pretty tremendous that there was no need to replace the pillow, which is great. Because a lot of people wake up with neck pain, and the pillow is 20 to 25% of sleep surface. And, it's a very important relationship because ideally you should be getting about 8.5 hours of sleep at night on average. But it's not just about the time you sleep, it's the quality that you sleep, and hopefully you can do it consistently. So out of everything that I sell, like we talk about wellness, but wellness is a broad picture. The number one thing I sell is sleep. So even when I'm fitting someone for a footrest, I'm thinking about how that's going to help them on the pillow at night, right? Because you can have less pain and you can do the right things throughout the day. I can really help you sleep deeper and more restoratively.
And that's so important. We've talked on a number of podcasts with healthcare professionals about how important sleep is. So, yeah, that's something most people don't pay enough attention to, and yet it's so crucial to their health. All right, we are just about out of time. So if our listeners would like to get more information on what you're doing, how can they do that?
So the best way to reach me is via text. You can email me, but text is usually the best, or phone call. So my direct line is 203-565-4766. It's Jah, J-H as in happy. The main company that I manage is Relax the Back, and we're a live wellness company. So the number again is 203-565-4766. You can find me on social media. I'm pretty much everywhere. If you look up Relax the Back West Hartford, you'll see a tremendous amount of great things about us. We have a perfect 5-star rating on Google. But again, you don't have to buy anything. Just come in and visit. The experience speaks for itself. The products are tremendous. We can solve back pain for as low as $22. And I like to say I can really help people within their budget. So have a great day, everybody, and thank you for your time.
Fantastic. So, Chip, what do you think is the big takeaway for this week?
You brought up the buzzword gratitude. And obviously, we're grateful to have you here today. And obviously, getting the people that you're working with to have gratitude for themselves and what's going on is super, super important. So as far as I'm concerned, when I teach positive mindset development, there's tools to do that. But in order to maintain a happy and successful life, you got to be practicing gratitude all the time. So keep that buzzword in mind.
Thank you, young man.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic focus. I think, tying everything you spoke about together, it really is all about mindset. It's about getting your mind in the right place as a father, getting your mind taken care of to avoid reincarceration, the relaxation and sleep. It all ties in. So I love that you've got that focus. And thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You've been listening to the Success Showcase. You can catch us every week at xvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Amazon Music, Audible, and wherever you find podcasts. Remember, make this your best week ever and make next week even better. We'll see you then.